welcome to Counting Wisdom, and today's book is the Book of Ruth. This book is set in a setting where judges still ruled the earth. Also, during this time, there was a famine. The book gives a brief description on the background of where Ruth comes from. My thoughts are that the book almost describes Ruth as a foreigner, a Moabite, who married into the ancestry line of King David by Boaz. Before we get too far into the story, let's describe Ruth's relation to Israel. During this time, Ruth was married to an Israelite, I think, but God killed Ruth's husband, Naomi's husband, and Naomi's two sons. Naomi began to make her way back to her hometown, and her two daughters-in-law went with her for a while. Then Naomi told her two daughters-in-law to go home. One daughter-in-law went home while Ruth made it her life's mission to not only stay with Naomi, but to take the God of Israel as her God. The Bible also notes that Ruth treated her husband graciously. I want to treat my spouse and my God graciously. Back to the story. Ruth held on and stayed faithful. Orpah, the name of Naomi's other daughter-in-law, did not stay, but left. Ruth had her heart set. Naomi had a good name before God killed her husband and two sons. After her tragedy, which I find similar to Job, Naomi wanted to be called Mara for the bitterness she felt. Naomi had a relative in her family named Boaz. Ruth, not knowing who Boaz was, randomly chose his farm to work on. Think about it. This is completely random in our eyes, but not in God's eyes. Ruth said to Naomi she was going out to find work, and she ended up going to where Naomi's relative Boaz was. Wow. After Ruth's first day of work, Naomi instructed Ruth to stay at Boaz's field. We can note that Ruth listened to instruction. Boaz said not to go to any other field because she would get much food here. And also, he told her she would be safe on his farm. Ruth asked Boaz how and why he was treating her so well. We can also make a note that Ruth was humble. Boaz said he knew of Ruth's kindness and good deeds towards Naomi. Ruth was then instructed to go and try to marry Boaz by her mother-in-law Naomi. Ruth listened to the instruction of Naomi. Here are some of my thoughts. This good deed of Ruth is somewhat subtle. Ruth was faithful and did not leave Naomi, and also chose Naomi's God, Jesus, who we now know by that name. Okay, back to the story. Ruth brought back food from her work. This story shows how God still loves us in bad times as well as good. Immediately or soon after a real bad situation, God restored Ruth and showed her kindness. Naomi then began to instruct Ruth on how to go to Boaz and entreat him to marry. Ruth ended up getting married to Boaz. There was a bit of a struggle in the form of a covenant redeemer before they could actually get married. Boaz was not first in line to marry Ruth. This comes from a law in the law of Moses that there is a certain way of marrying a widow in the family. It is good to note that Ruth had a reputation for being a noble woman. I also want to note that there was an expression of "as God lives" back then. "As God lives" is an expression that shows that God is truthful and God is alive, and that what you're saying or about to say is the truth and is as truthful as the fact that God is alive. We can note that also there's weakness found in Ruth's character. Naomi then said, "Sit back and relax" to Ruth. Boaz is diligent and he will do the things that he promised to Ruth, like marrying her. Boaz then goes to the town elders. Remember, judges ruled during this time. to bring up the fact of Ruth being available for marriage and that he would like to marry Ruth. There was another relative available to marry Ruth, but he declined because he had already had a wife and family. The relative said to Boaz, "Go ahead and marry her." Elimelech died and Boaz received what he got. Elimelech is who Naomi was married to. In conclusion, there is always a challenge that God wants us to overcome while we live in this age. This is sort of sad, but love always hopes. Boaz married Ruth. She became pregnant and had a son. Ruth said, "May this baby grow up to be famous." Ruth named her baby Obed. Salmon was the father of Boaz. Boaz was the father of Obed. Obed was the father of Jesse. And Jesse was the father of David, the king. Ruth was right. Her baby was famous. Wow! Thank you for watching Counting Wisdom. If you want to see the next story, please subscribe. Thank you and see you next time. Hi, I'd also like to make a disclaimer that when I said that God killed Naomi's husband and 2 children, the story does not actually give those details. So we cannot necessarily say that God himself killed them. The story actually does not necessarily say how Naomi's husband and 2 sons, or Ruth's first husband, passed away. And so I just like to make that disclaimer that we actually don't know in the story how they lost their lives. So thank you, and I hope that you will read the story for yourself and do your own research. Thanks for watching.